Good morning, everybody, and good morning, James. What a night it was in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. We were just talking about it off air, but Canada is legit. They beat USA 2-0, top of the group, undefeated, 22 points. We can't say it just yet, but I feel like we can, James. They're almost there. They're almost in Qatar.
I'd say we can say it now, don't you think? I mean, listen, until the math says they cannot not be there, I guess there's always that chance. But for them to capitulate now will be one of the all-time choke jobs.
Hmm.
It's that simple. And there's been no sign, not even a hint that this team has that in it. They have such resilience and such a mental strength. So yeah, I think they're going to book their flights pretty soon. We can maybe even talk magic numbers. They're not quite there yet, but I believe it's 4 to at least qualify for a playoff. And is it 8? I think to finish
8.
in the top 3. Right, that'd be the magic number with what 3, 6, 12 points left. Right,
Hmm.
so it's going to happen. And what another compelling performance, right? It wasn't their best, it wasn't great, but they did the job. They sat back. They were really comfortable, I think, allowing the States to come at them, who were very poor in the final third in particular. The States have got some issues, there's no doubt. But they're comfortable defending when they have to. I love that they made the field very narrow. That was great. Home field advantage. That's their right. So yeah, everything went right on May, and one brilliant save once again from Borja, a couple of beautiful goals, and here we are. First time ever in World Cup qualifying that a team's gone unbeaten against the States and Mexico in World Cup qualifying. So yeah, they are legit. There's no doubt.
Yeah, this doesn't happen in CONCACAF. Teams slip up. Mexico and the US have slipped up in the past, and Canada doesn't. Since the beginning of World Cup qualifying, you would think this momentum would die down, but it doesn't. They just keep getting better and better and better and better. And obviously, heading into their next match against El Salvador, you don't think they're going to slow down. Probably maybe a heavily rotated side. Steven Victoria has been suspended. But back to that USA game, no Davies, no Stacchio, no Atiba Hutchinson. They put Azorio and Anthony Kay in the midfield, two players who haven't played since November. I mean, they weren't the greatest going forward, but they did the job defensively, and the back three behind them were phenomenal. So, I mean, one thing we really need to talk about when it comes to this Canadian team is depth.
Yeah, hey, that's the key word for me, right? Through this entire campaign, we've been seeing it every single match window.
Yeah.
I mean, to say that they beat the States, and like you said, without those guys, the two biggest names probably in Atiba and Alfonso, obviously, and we know how important Estacio is to this side. So to do it and to bring these MLS players in who haven't, like I said, played for months. I mean, I thought Kay had a bit of a rough one, a lot of giveaways,
Yeah.
but made the change in the second half, and in comes once again Liam Fraser and did a really good job. So, they are deep at every position, it seems. And, even when their top players weren't flying, because given the tactics, I don't think David and Larin could really fly. That wasn't the game plan. They still found a way. And I tell you, that back four or back three, whatever you want to call it, it really impresses me every single time. I mean, Stephen Vittoria, I know he's got some dodgy knees and he's suspended now, which I don't think he would have played that game anyway, given 3 and 7 days might be too much for him. But he's been just outstanding throughout this entire campaign, a real inspirational defensive leader. Kamal Miller comes back in the side. I thought he was great. I really do. And Scott Kennedy, who played so well in that previous game, on the bench, didn't get a minute. I mean, wow, there's some depth for you. And then we
Yeah.
have Sam Adekubi. I mean, if there's one guy that surprised me more than him, I don't know who it is. He has been brilliant, and especially the last couple of games, or last 3 games, I suppose. He's been just great. I mean, defensively, he's brave, he's tenacious, he's well positioned, and then, as you saw yesterday, he has the ability to break forward as well. So, out wide at fullback, we're looking pretty good.
And look at the goals that they're scoring too. When we talk about the Jonathan David goal against Honduras, they're 1-2 with Larin, who finished that goal. And then, Adekubi, he breaks, he catches that ball, beats the defender, and then finishes like Robin Van Persie from like, it was amazing to see. And 91st, 92nd minute, he's still running full pelt. I mean, this team, there's just so much belief in this team. And Herdman, once again, he said after the game, he goes, staying undefeated is on our mind, and that's absolutely massive. A lot of teams, I think, would shrink to that, but not this side. They just continually break through barriers, and I think that's why we're seeing the best out of them.
It's that mindset, right? And I know
Yeah,
Herman spoke to them early
unbelievable.
on, way early on in qualifying. So we can win this group. Let's not talk about just qualifying for a World Cup. We should be aiming to go undefeated and aiming to win this group. And we should be, let's be honest, we should be a team that other teams fear. And the boys bought into that, right? I heard an interview yesterday with who was it? Oh, Adakubi. And he was saying how, they always had confidence in that brotherhood culture, and that was used again. But he goes, when we go on the road to the States and Mexico and get points, suddenly our confidence grows and grows and grows. And we just feel so much better about ourselves. So it's been a momentum. They got better and better, right? And is it 4 straight games now with a win, or 5? Forgetting now, it's 5 or 4. 5, right? Yeah, 5 straight games with a win, right? And now we're going to El Salvador. Say we. I shouldn't be saying we, but I just feel
I think
so part of it.
okay.
You think it's okay? Yeah, it's a good point because as in the media, we should be objective, right? I understand that, but we should be allowed to enjoy this, right? You and I have been doing this for a long time, covering soccer in this country, right? We're allowed to enjoy this, right? So at some point, I'll shift from the we to them, but right now I'm sticking with the we. All right, just putting it out there, right? I lost my train of thought now, wherever I was, but we have got better and better as it's gone on, right? And I think that's just a real sign of how this team are sponges and how they like each other, and how Herdman's just tapped into their minds just perfectly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's an exciting time, and we need to embrace it. I mean, that crowd yesterday was fantastic. I think they said there was 15,000. It felt like 50,000. I mean, there was tons of people there.
I thought it was 12, wasn't that? 12 was the official. There's been some shenanigans there, right? Because there was
12.
20 there. Yeah, come on. I thought there's 20, right? I mean, it was packed.
It was packed. Yeah. Were you there when the Canadian bus pulled in? I was right in the heart of the action. And
I was driving towards it, and then I saw the flares.
Yeah, Herdman after the game said it felt like a Liverpool championship night, or a Champions League night, which you don't hear. Like, you don't hear that. You don't hear that in Canada. And I was right in the mix of it. The crowd was fantastic. I mean, it was something I've never seen. And slowly but surely, we're turning into a footballing nation. We'll always have hockey. We'll always have that forever. But slowly but surely, I mean, it's turning into that. And if they make the World Cup, it's only going to do even better for this country, specifically for kids who want to get into the game. Now they get to see a team they can cheer for in the country that they live in. It's only going to grow the game even further. That can do more than what money can.
It's monumental what they're doing to encourage kids to play, right? And now they can look at these Carl Larens and John Davids, and they got heroes who are Canadian who are succeeding overseas and doing it. And you're right. I was speaking to Craig Forrest last night, and he was just so happy about how the crowd has become this football crowd, and how it's home field advantage. Because when he played, he said he rarely had home field advantage because, generally speaking, the Canadians were lower numbers, right? And it would drive the squad crazy. And he said they'd be sitting in the room before a match, and their heads would be down because they could hear the Jamaican chants, or the Honduran chants, or the Mexican chants, and they're at home. They're in Toronto, wherever they are, right? And he goes, it would just crush us. And now you got that team's coming off the bus, and like John Herdman said, this is top football culture they're stepping into. He said his favorite memory of that match yesterday was that getting off the bus. He goes, that's what we wanted. That's what we're trying to deliver. And now it's beginning to happen here. We're getting significant support back home where we should get it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of credit goes to the women's national team as well for what they've done to build, this footballing culture that we have now. But let's move on to Canada, El Salvador. At the moment, Canada minus 105 on the road to El Salvador plus 300. Yesterday, they closed at plus 200 against the States, a home dog. How could you not take that? So thank you very much to the odds makers for that one. How do you think Canada will fare in this game? And I guess my follow-up to that would be, I know we tried last week, but could you even predict what Herdman's going to do with that 11?
We can't predict. No, I mean, 3 games, 7 days. There was 4 changes yesterday.
Yeah.
There'll be a lot more changes for this one. Obviously, Victoria's out, but it's a huge game still, right? Because you get 3 more points, you're really on the cusp. You can then clinch in Costa Rica, right? Next time around, at least a playoff spot, right? Yeah. So it's just enormous. El Salvador's a good team. They're better than people think. They're a team very much on the rise, and they've got a very good coach there. And the States found that out, right? The States drew them 0-0, and then they beat them 1-0. Now, I know they dominated that last match, but they're a pretty decent side. But luckily, it's going to be in El Salvador where there's going to be more of a football weather climate, so Canada can play its game a bit more. How can you root against this team, right? I mean, I think they're going to win the match. I really do. I think they're going to go into that match as hungry as they've been, with less pressure, though, right? I mean, I think it's important to realize that given what they've done so far, going 10 games without defeat, they've allowed themselves the freedom to lose a couple of games if that happens, right? Listen, but I don't think it will. I think they're going to win that match, even with the rotation. There's players hungry, chomping at the bit
Mhm.
to get into that side. So yeah, I expect to see a win. I think Estacchio might get in there. He made the initial squad yesterday. I'm not sure he made the actual match day squad in the end, but he got in on time. He'll have a few days of training, and that'll make a big difference to the midfield, obviously. So yeah, I think they'll take the 3 points.
Yeah, I do as well. Back on Estacchio, he came out, warmed up, and then went straight back down to the tunnel. And I think he
Hmm.
was with Atiba Hutchinson in the stands. I also like them to win. I'm going to go with them to win plus under 3.5 goals. I think they win maybe 1-0, 2-0,
Yeah, it'd be
something like
tight.
that. Right? So plus 140, get some pretty good odds on that. So today is not only the greatest day for Canada, it's transfer deadline day, James.
Yes.
What's happening? And how about this? We talked about this a couple weeks ago, but Christian Eriksen has signed for Brentford 243 days since what happened at the Euros where he collapsed. He's now back in the Premier League, 6-month deal. And if there ever was a money ball type of signing, this is it.
That's what Brentford do, right? It's what they do. And I mean, he is, forget what happened last summer. He is a class player. We know what
Yes.
he can do. He actually had a much better year for Inter Milan in that second year. Set pieces, he's devastating. He's a smart player. He's got a huge reputation, and he's gone to Brentford, right? This guy walks into Brentford as their best player ever, right? As far as the CV, the resume is concerned. And I think he'll be a real good signing. Like we mentioned before, though, will I be nervous seeing him trot out there at first? Yeah, I will. That's human nature. I think that's bound to happen. But they've done all the testing. I'm sure he's 100%. And it's just a great, brave story. I thought he'd be out for sure for a while, more than what, half a season,
Yeah.
3/4 of a season. So it's just incredible. So yeah, very, very happy for him. Happy for Brentford, who have had a great season. I think they're going to survive. And you inject that kind of talent, it's just going to lift everyone else. And if you're a Brentford fan this morning, you're like thinking, what has happened here? We've signed Christian Eriksen? Really?
Yeah.
He's a legend at Spurs.
I mean, if I mentioned this before as well, if he's 70%, 80% of what Christian Eriksen can be, he's a fantastic signing. And let's not forget, for people who have, how good he was in the Premier League. Only 2 players in Premier League history have provided 10 or more assists in 4 straight seasons: David Beckham and Christian Eriksen. So this is a
Wow.
fantastic signing for Brentford. Lampard has gone to Everton. No Wayne Rooney, no Vitor Pereira, even though he tried with his live interview on Sky Sports. Didn't happen. Everton got their man, Frank Lampard. What do you think about this signing, James?
Well, I hope it works out because fan power, right? The fans are going to rebel against Vitor
Yep.
Pereira, who's a very good coach, right? So this better work out. I think it's a good fit for both of them. I
Right.
think from Everton's standpoint, they get a name, obviously, who did a good job at Derby County. People forget that. A real good job. Did a good job at Chelsea at first. Then it all went, skedaddle. It went off the rails there. But at the same time, I think there were some personalities in that Chelsea room, who are hard to coach. And I think they got the better of him. He's a young manager still, which is crazy. He walks into Everton as Frank Lampard, right? He's the biggest name in the club by a mile. So
Yeah.
they better respect him. And he's got a lot to prove. He's had time to realize, where he had to improve. Obviously, defensively, Chelsea fell apart. And Everton are awful defensively as well. But like I said before, they're walking into a team that's been really poor, has been crippled through COVID and injuries. They were getting healthier. Then they got hurt again, recently some of the top players. But they're making signings. Donny van der Beek has arrived, which is a really intriguing signing because we know he did nothing at United, but remember those Ajax teams, I know you do. He was brilliant, right? One of if not their best player. So if he can rekindle the fire in Donny van der Beek, that's great. They're talking about Jesse Lingard as well. It could be a really important transfer deadline day, and I think Frank Lampard, takes over a team that's kind of hit rock bottom, and it really has only one way to go, and I think he'll be just fine.
Yeah, I think people forget what he did at Chelsea. He took them to an FA Cup final, top 4 finish. He essentially set up that team for Tuchel. Obviously, Tuchel came in with his own philosophies and his own type of management, brought his own type of players. But it was Lampard who kind of built that foundation for him. And at Derby, took him to a playoff final. So there's a manager there. And being Frank Lampard, similar to Steven Gerrard, he's going to have some pull when it comes to transfer dealing. So this is all good news for Everton. Big Dunk, he's also staying. So it looks like, James, he doesn't want a number 1 job.
Who's gonna tell Big Dunk he's no longer wanted? Can you imagine that interview? Hey Dunk, thanks for all your work, but not gonna work out.
Yeah,
I
good
don't
luck.
think so. I don't think so. I'm staying. Okay, that's fine. No, I think you're right. Maybe listen, like we said before, we don't know what he wants to do, but he's got enough up there. He's important. The players like him. He needs a club, better than anyone. So, yeah, I mean, listen, I hope he gets a chance at the main man somewhere if he wants that chance at some point. But right now, it's a good fit for him.
Yeah, next couple of fixtures for Everton. Brentford FA Cup, so we can see Christian Eriksen there. Newcastle leads Southampton. So 3 winnable games and 3 very important games. You don't want to get sucked in that relegation battle. And we talked about how they're just too good to be in that battle.
They're huge games, right? They're huge games for this team.
Huge.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay, Spurs. Looks like they're making some moves finally. Kulusevski from Juventus looks like he's coming in at around 40 million. And Rodrigo Bentancur, which I think is a nice piece of business, 19 million for that midfielder who's won tons with Juventus.
Yeah, no, that's a good deal. And that's, Conte knows these players, right, so well. They had to sign players because, I mean, there was a while there that we thought they might blow it again. They've come in for Adama Traore. That's broken, fallen away, didn't happen. And my mind freezes. There's someone else there in for as well, and it hasn't happened as well. Luis Diaz, actually. Liverpool signed him. They're in for him. And it fell apart at the last minute as well. So that there's, issues there. And I was thinking, man, he's kind of going to walk before the season ends. There's players leaving as well, right? Dele Alli, actually, maybe to Everton, actually, is mentioned as well. And Ndombele is on his way out as well. So there's a refresh at Spurs for sure. And, they're not like they're a bad team. They've played really well. I thought they were actually improving. Yeah. They were improving under Conte. So it could end up being a pretty fruitful day for Spurs.
Yeah, losing to Chelsea 3 times in 1 month will really set you back, and that's exactly what happened. Speaking of Ali, if he does go to Everton, I mean, wouldn't Lampard be the perfect manager for him? Similar position, knows how to play, could probably get the best out of him as well. Could be a really good signing, actually.
And Lampard was also the boy wonder of English football, right?
Right.
And he maintained it. He lived up to that label. Dele Alli kind of wilted with that label, came to a certain level. We saw that interview with Jose Mourinho in Amazon documentary. It was amazing, right? And he sits him down. He goes, I see a player that has got to the top, but then it's just not continued and keeps. Google it if you get a chance. It's a really good interview, actually. You get a lot of insight into Mourinho. But yeah, he's a really skillful player that maybe got distracted off the field. I don't know the reasons. He's a smart kid, actually. Dele Alli, if you hear him interviewed at MK Dons, he was wonderful, made the move, and for a long time there was very, very good. So if he can refine his fire, his desire, and his discipline, I think he can be a real great signing.
Yeah, even for Newcastle, if he goes there, he can be one of the main men. Let's talk about Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. He's already in Barcelona ahead of a move to Barcelona, but Arsenal, they said that they're surprised that he's already there because the deal isn't done. This is Peter Odemwingie all over again at QPR.
Yeah, QPR, right? That's right. Just waiting in his car outside the gates.
What a disaster.
Waiting for it to happen.
What a fallout from captain of Arsenal to stripped.
You remember that whole negotiation, right? When he was out of contract, what will Arsenal do? He's scoring goals and they have to sign this guy, but he's going to be in his mid-30s by the end of the deal. He's got a bit of baggage. Oh, no, they signed him, and it's been just an absolute calamity of a signing. It's really sad, isn't it? And how Barcelona can afford him and his wages. He makes about £350 a week, pounds, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what.
He's willing to take a pay cut, so there you go.
Yeah, well, he may have to, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Barcelona are just relying on loans and trying to some way to circumnavigate this Spanish salary cap. It's all beyond me. I mean, my God, the math involved in these, but they're kind of bending rules a little bit for Barcelona, who are just after that summer that they endured and how they were just going down the and now they're just signing players like a few players they brought in now in huge salaries. So you know what, I know I don't know if he's the right solution for Barcelona. They let Luis Suarez go, right, who was older. Now, another guy who's older. I don't know. I think they're just being misled by someone.
I think so. And let's talk about probably the most important signing of the window so far. Wout Weghorst has gone to Burnley from Wolfsburg. 6'6", 70 goals in 144 games for Wolfsburg. 12 million. They got 25 for Wood. So this is actually a decent piece of business. Listen to this one, James. When Burnley played Arsenal back in January 23rd, so Wood was already gone. Maxwell Cornet was at AFCON. Their leading scorer on that pitch was Ben Mee with 2 goals.
Well, that's, yeah. You know what? This guy, I mean, listen, I'm not going to pretend I know much about this guy.
I don't
He's big, and he fits perfectly into what Sean Dyche wants, right? A big target man. You think target men are dead in the water. No, they still exist. They're still lurking around Europe. And I wonder how those conversations went. Wolfsburg's a pretty good club.
Yeah.
And Burnley comes sniffing around. It hasn't got the allure of, Manchester City has it. Let's be honest. But I guess if you're Sean Dyche, you can tell him, listen, I'm going to stick you up top. We're going to whip balls in from the wings. And, Christ, we need you because we miss Chris Wood. So, hey, good for them. I like Burnley. They're actually an incredible story. We kind of got used to them in the Prem, so we don't talk about what job Dyche has done. They're incredible. And all those games in hand, they might still pull it out. You never know. It's a bit dubious whether they will this year, but you never know. With Sean Dyche, they might survive.
Yeah, they definitely need the goals. And the thing with players, I mean, quote unquote, maybe wanting to go to Burnley, it's that Premier League pull, right? You want to go play in the best league in the world. And obviously, Burnley, they have the money. So we'll see. If there was ever a Burnley signing, it's a Weghorst.
That's a Burnley signing. Yep.
All right, James, thanks so much for this. You can follow James at James Sharman on Twitter. You can follow me at TheRealBertV on Twitter as well. Thanks for watching and enjoy your day.
Cheers.